All right, so I said we're going to look at HTML forms and the form input types that we have. Okay, so just make a comment like we have done before now. Just put a comment here. HTML forms. Right now, I just type FOR, and the system is suggesting for me form, form get, form post. Okay, so these three can work. All right, but there are some points where you don't need to use like get, and you have to use post. Now, if I use form get, right, that's a get method. That will submit my data that when I type into the form input fields. But there's a challenge with it, which I'm going to show you. Then, now for security purposes, if you create a form and use form get, for example, this is form get. Now you see method is saying form get. What happens is that after you have submitted your information, whatever that you submitted will appear on this URL, this environment here. For example, let's say you have submitted password. All right, it will be showing the password here, which is not secure. So we always advise when you're going to be asking or requesting your form for sensitive information, instead of using form get. So I'm going to use post method here. Okay. Then inside this form, I have some attributes. I have action. I have a post. This one, we're not going to be dealing with this until when we get to PHP. This is where you pass in the script that is going to process whatever that you input in your form. Okay, this action here. Okay, so for now, we're not doing anything around it. I'll just leave it blank for now. Or you can even put a hash sign, which means it's going nowhere at the moment. So I have my form. I have method is post. When I write my code, I like to make post a capital letter. So then in between here is where you pass your form input fields. You have form input type, which is text. You have password. You have other ones. So let's say, for example, we're creating a username and password form for people to log in. So I have here input, then I put colon, and then type test, which means input type test. If I press the enter key, it gives me input type test. Okay, right? So I have some attributes here as well. Name is, of course, when you also deal with PHP. This is what you're going to use to let the processor, whatever that's processing your form, to know that you're talking about maybe full name, last name, all that. So we use this mostly when we're dealing with form processors. Okay, we're going to deal with that later. Then there's also ID. ID is maybe we want to also add some JavaScript and all the rest of them. You can use ID. You can also use ID for CSS. That's to manage or manipulate this input type test. Okay, so if I refresh my page, I have the form input type here, which is test. So I type in something there. I have test inside that field. Okay, so there's something I can do as well. For example, I can say here first name, and then something like this. So if I refresh, I have this first name. Okay, this is first name. I have to put X for first name. Okay, so I refresh it again. I have first name here. Okay, so I might need to delete all these things so that we can appreciate it better. So I'll delete everything that I've written here before except the form. Okay, so let's see what it looks like now. Okay, so that is good. So on top of this list, I can have a H4 and say user login, something like this. Okay, so I have instead of first name here, I can say username. Okay, and then I put double breaks here so I can go to the next line. Double breaks. Okay, then I go to the next line and say password, and then colon. So here I'm going to say input colon password. So in this case, I'm telling the system that what I require to capture in this field is password. So I do this. So input type password, name and ID. I don't need to bother about this one for now. Okay, so I can put double breaks again. Double breaks. Then I go to the next line and say input submit, which means I'm actually talking about input type submit. Okay, so that's what I have here. Okay, so in the value, I'll write what I want to see. So I can write login, okay, as my input, or my submit button test. So I refresh it. So I have username, password. So if I type whatever, maybe Imma Rejoice is my username here. The password, anything I type here will be asterisk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's asterisk. So the system knows that what I'm inputting here is password. So if I log in now, of course, nothing happens because it doesn't have any processor for now. So if I had done a PHP processor, that would have taken an action or taken me to a dashboard or to my account. Okay, so that's how to create username and password fields. Of course, it doesn't look beautiful now. We can use CSS to make it look beautiful later on. When we learn CSS, we'll see how to use CSS to make our form look beautiful. Okay, so that is use input type test and input type password. The other input types, okay, we have what we call select. So I'm going to remove this one entirely. Okay, I'm going to remove all this information entirely here, or I just remove only password for now. Okay, I don't need that input type, so I can change it here to customer registration form. Okay, there's a little project we are trying to do. So here we have first name. Okay, so we go to the next line. So I'm going to be taking first name, middle name, and last name. So I just need to copy this without having to type again. I'll copy this right here, middle name. Okay, and then paste this. Okay, then let's say last name here, last name. Okay, and then paste this as well. So then if we check our form, we have first name, middle name, and last name. Okay, then there are people who when they're creating their forms, they don't want. For me, I don't actually do this in most of my forms. I don't want to say first name. I'll put the input field, last middle name. I don't do that. I usually will remove this entirely. Okay, I'll remove this entirely, and I have my input fields written, and then inside the input tag, I will pass what we call placeholder. Okay, placeholder. And so inside the placeholder, I will say first name. Okay, first name. Okay, so here I also have another placeholder. I'll say middle name. Okay, so and also have another placeholder here. Okay, and I'll say last name. So I didn't have to put what I did before, first name, and I write middle name, I write another. So if we go to refresh this now, you see we have here a form that is saying not all the forms are the same height, so the same width, and login. So it means if I just come here and type maybe my name, it will overwrite whatever that was there. So I have Emmanuel. That's my That's not really my first name. My first name is Azendo. Okay. Middle name is Emmanuel. I like to use, so I say Emmanuel. So this text you are seeing here, which is a placeholder, is imaginary. It's not real. It's not real. The text is just imaginary. It means that's why it's called placeholder. So it's just there for a moment. Once I type anything, whatever I type will overwrite it. For example, if I submit this form, this last name will not be submitted in my database, okay, because it's imaginary, okay, it's not really there. So I can just come here and not type my last name, okay. I'm sorry, there's supposed to be M here. So that's my information now I've passed inside. This is I can now instead of login, I should have changed the information here. Go to value here and change it to something like sign up, okay, or instead of sign up, I say register, okay. So that is I have all this now. So I can also select this. Let's just create some kind of form. Select this and I'll say instead of last name here, I'll say contact address. Okay. All right. So and then we'll now go to the next thing, maybe the person's gender. So for gender, that those that will just want to have an input field as well, so the person can type in male or female. But we have an input type that's called select, a HTML format filter that's called select. So, of course, here I will just write select. All right. So inside select, I still have name, I still have ID. So inside this select, I'm going to create some children for the select, which is option. Okay. Then I have, for example, gender. I can now the first thing I have here, I'll say select gender. That's the first option. That's the first thing that will show in the form. So I'll copy this and paste this. I have male, and then there's the last one. I have female, and I refresh this form, right? So you can see I have here gender. It's saying select gender here. I have male and female. Now register is in the same line. All that I just need to do is to copy my breaks and put them here. Okay. So if we look at the form again, it looks good now. Okay. So I have gender. I can select male. I can select female. Okay. So once you refresh this form, what shows in the first place is just a moment. What's happening? Okay. So what shows there is select gender. Okay. I can say that I choose a gender. So whatever you pass here is what you will see in the form. So here I have value. You can also pass the same thing that is here inside the value. Your male can also pass the same thing here if you like. There is another one that is input type of dates. Okay, so I have here dates. I can write DOB, which is date of birth. Okay, DOB. So I have here input colon date. Okay, so select this and then put my breaks so that register will not come to the same line. I said a break here, close the tag. So if I refresh again, I have date of birth, DOB. So if I click on this place, I have a calendar given to me. So I can click here and select the year I was born. Okay, 1980. Okay, so April 28th, 1980. Okay, so that's date of birth here. Okay, gender. So you fill all this information and then you register. So let me add some of these other input types. So we have input type of radio, input type A I N P U T of radio. So radio button. Now this, you're going to pay attention to this one. It comes with type and comes with name and ID. All right. It's important that you deal with the name. Okay, I'll tell you why you have to deal with the name later on now. There's another attribute also that is not here. It's called value. You can also add to your radio button. Radio buttons help you for options. Okay, there are options that are listed out, so you have to select one. Okay, so that's what radio buttons help you to do. Okay, so what options are we going to do now? Let's say that this person, I'm going to put here, I'm going to put a heading here. I put heading 5. Heading 5. Okay, so I'll say here, select time of study. Okay, study, sorry, study. Select time of study. Okay, so I have here, if we refresh this page now, so I have here register. Oh, sorry, register should have gone. I think that's a challenge here. Let me see. Yeah, I should have a break somewhere here so that we are not in the same line. So I'll refresh it again. So register is down. You see, this radio button doesn't have anything attached to it. So we're going to create put information now. So for this, I'm going to make the ID morning session, morning. Okay, I'll just say value as well, morning. Okay, morning. Then this name, I'm going to make this name maybe sessions. I just call it session, right? So I have this radio button now, and then I'm going to pass an information across. Let me break this thing down and come here. Okay, so I'll say label for equal to morning. Okay, and then I'll close this. And I'll say morning session. So I created the first option, which is morning session. Okay, if we refresh this page now, you see that radio button has an option there, morning session. You can see it there. Okay, so I'm not going to try to create this more. I'm just going to select the whole of this input type of radio and the label for and copy it, so I don't waste much time. So I paste it again. So here I have input type radio, name is this session. It's important that you make all the names the same thing, otherwise it will not work. I'll show you what I mean by that now. ID afternoon, value afternoon. These are attributes for your radio button. Okay, and then I say for afternoon as well. Then here I will say afternoon session. Okay, so then I'll paste again because I already copied it. So I'm going to paste the last one. And then here, input type of radio, name session is important that name is session. ID is evening. And then value is evening. I can remove that value as well if I don't want it, but for some reasons you have to leave it because there are sometimes you might need it when you're not coding. Okay, evening session. So if we refresh our page, can you see what I have? Morning session, afternoon session, evening session. They are all in the same line. Some forms you see, they are all in the same line. But if I want to make them go to different lines, I just have to copy my break. So here I paste break. Here also I paste the break. So I'm going to have them now in different lines. So I have morning session, afternoon session, and evening session. So if I select morning session, that's my option. If I click afternoon, morning session is left alone. The reason is because I made all of them, all their names, they are all bearing session. If I go and remove this session now, for example, let me just copy these sessions. Okay, let me just copy this session and remove it. Delete this session. Delete also this session. Delete this session. Okay, just watch what will happen. If I go and refresh this, my form, if I select morning, I select afternoon. Can you see? After selecting morning, selecting afternoon, the both of them are selected at the same time. If I select evening, they are all selected because they are now as though they are separate radio button group. Okay, but if I want to make it in a way that when I select, if I select morning, afternoon is not selected. If I select afternoon, morning is not selected. I have to pass the same name to all of them. So I'm going to undo what I've done so that they have that name again. If I go and refresh my form again, I have it working fine. Morning, if I select afternoon, morning is deselected. If I select evening, afternoon is deselected. I'll copy this, okay, and bring it here. So here I'm going to be saying choose courses, okay, courses. So this is now, I can pass a comment here, I say check boxes. I'm going to say input colon, that's input equal to, that column means equal to, input equal to checkbox. All right, so that's for my checkbox. So I'm going to now copy this and paste as many as possible. Okay, so I'm going to use them later. So here I have ID. I can remove all these ones if I want to. ID of HTML, okay, and then name also is HTML. If I want to, it's important to have name because for checkboxes the names differ. Okay, but for radio button the names are the same. Okay, that's how the difference now. Like I want to say it again. For checkboxes, the names will always differ. For radio buttons, which are options that you can select without the other ones, their names will always be the same. Okay, so this is HTML and ID is also HTML. So I'm going to have, maybe I can also add value if I want to. Value is important for maybe more of my programming. So I'll say HTML. Okay, right. So I go to the next line. I'll say label for HTML. Uh, okay, label for HTML, and then I'll close it. So I'm going to write here HTML. Okay, so maybe I just delete this one and copy this in full. So I'll select the whole of this. Okay, copy and then paste here. So I have name, I have CSS, and ID, CSS. Okay, then value also, I can say CSS. Then here, label for CSS, and then I have CSS here. I'm going to do two more and then I'll stop the checkbox. So here I have JavaScript here, JavaScript, Then label here, I have JavaScript as well. So JavaScript. But here is JavaScript as well. Okay. So here I have PHP, and then I have PHP as well. PHP, yeah, PHP here, there for PHP. And then I have PHP here, PHP. Right. So if I save this and refresh this form, you see I have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and they are all on the same line too. So I can just come here, copy this, and then paste here, and paste here. So if I refresh now, I'm good to go with them aligning well. Okay, so choose courses. I can select this. I can select this. You can see, so I can select as many as possible at the same time. Okay. So another input type in HTML is what we call text area. I can come here and say H4 again. Enter comments here. Okay. So we're going to look at that text area now. There's another beautiful input type that we can have in HTML forms. Okay. So for text area, I can come here and say text area. You can see it here. Text area. So it has name, it has ID, then it has columns, rows. Okay. So let's see what it looks like now if we refresh our form. See the text area. So this way we can input information inside. Can you see? So that's our text area. So if I had written something like here, maybe impute your comments or something like this, and refresh that. See, impute your comments. So cancel that in and remove it there. That is let me refresh it again. So it gives you a pre-information, impute your comments. But this one you have to remove what is there. I can use this folder instead of this. So let me copy out this or cut it out and say placeholder here. Placeholder will work here. Yeah. So I can paste this here, and then if I refresh again, I have impute your comments. So it's spent here. So anything I type now overwrite the first one. I don't need to select entirely and delete again. Now the last but not least in this form now is what we call input type of file upload. You want to put a field where you can upload files. For example, there's an image you want to upload. It's important that you put that as well. So I'm going to do H4 here, and then maybe before this comment, I can just say here. I'll say upload image. Okay, so I'll go to the next line. Input type of file. Enter. Okay, so I have input type of file here. I can refresh again. We have something that allows us to upload a file. Can you see here? We have choose file. So if I click on this place now, I can choose a file. For example, if I choose this and open it, the file is appended to this input field. So if I submit it now, I would have written it in PHP how to allow this image to be sent to my database. Okay, so if I do that now, it will send this image to my database. Okay,